Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today I am really excited because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, and just the fact that I get to do something like this on a channel like this, it's like whiskey and Game of Thrones together. So HBO and Diageo, they kind of decided to work together and make all of these different expressions to celebrate Game of Thrones Season 8. And I will say this is not a sponsored video, I'm just a fanboy. So let's talk a bit about what's coming out. You might not realize it. There's not just this White Walker, there's actually 8 other whiskeys that are gonna be coming out, and there's some heavy hitters in there too. So I wanted to talk to you guys about which ones are coming out. So first, let's go to Highgarden with House Tyrell. Clynelish is going to be putting out the Clynelish Reserve, which will be a 51.2% ABV single malt Scotch whiskey, bursting with tropical fruits like papaya and mango that subsides into a creamy vanilla character. The finish is slightly maritime in quality with delicate floral notes. Next, we're going to cross through the Stormlands and visit House Baratheon to find a 40% ABV 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch from Royal Lochnagar. This whiskey offers light notes of oak and sweet licorice that develops into a rich, creamy vanilla coffee and finishes with a mild nutmeg custard note. Move past King's Landing and across the water to Dragonstone to visit House Targaryen and find Cardhu Gold Reserve, a single malt Scotch whiskey at 40% ABV that promises baked apple with baking spices that transforms on the palate into rich caramel character with hints of clove, red apple, and gentle nuttiness. Next, we're going to travel east to Casterly Rock and visit House Lannister to find Lagavulin 9, an Islay single malt Scotch whiskey at 46% ABV, which will unsurprisingly feature the characteristic Lagavulin sweet smoke that explodes on the nose with a little more brine than the other expressions. The palate opens with smoked caramelized banana and heavy vanilla and burnt marshmallow, which subside into a light, dry, slightly salted caramel. Next, we're going to take a leisurely jaunt up to the Riverlands to visit House Tully, where we'll find one of my personal favorite matches here. The Singleton is presenting Singleton of Glendullan Select. I think this was a perfect pairing as the logo matches the sigil perfectly. This will be a 40% ABV bottle, where orange and clove open on the nose, but on the palate there's red berry compote and vanilla cheesecake with a pronounced cereal spice finish. Cross over to the Iron Islands to visit House Greyjoy, and we'll find another great match, Talisker with Talisker Select Reserve. It's a 45.8% ABV single malt Scotch whiskey. Now listen to this description. It's got dry Szechuan's peppery smoke and dark chocolate on the nose. On the palate, the salted caramel with chili flakes explode into a smoky fruit cake of spice, and the finish is long and complex with a lasting character of leather, which sounds freaking weird, but interesting. Travel north along the King's Road to Winterfell and visit House Stark, where we'll find the Dalwhinnie Winter's Frost. This is a 43% Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. Honey and fresh fig develop on the palate, followed by a delicious maltiness and rich fruit cake. Next, we're going to make the long trip up to Castle Black and visit the Night's Watch, and you'll be greeted with Oban Bay Reserve, a 43% ABV single malt Scotch whiskey with rich notes of cherry pie and candied orange peel open up on the palate that drifts into a wonderful creme caramel and a wisp of charred oak. This is the one I'm personally looking forward to most, as I'm a big fan of Oban and think they can do no wrong. That does it for all of the expressions of the Game of Thrones. So now that I've kind of gone over this, just one thing I want to tell you is that these are going to be limited release. However, there will probably be a lot of them. So although you should probably try to get your hands on it soon when they come out, you probably don't have to be the first one in line. There's going to be plenty to go around. But ask your local liquor store, look for one of the bigger liquor stores. One of you guys know which one I'm talking about, like in your area, you know which one I'm talking about. So ask them when they're getting it in. Personally, I've asked, they said around November, so look for it around that time frame. Either way, that does it for this episode of the Whiskey Dictionary. Which one are you guys looking forward to? Me personally, I'm really looking forward to the Talisker and the Oban. So those both sound really awesome to me, and like I said, I love Oban. So that does it for this episode of the Whiskey Dictionary. Have a great rest of your night. Cheers.
Whiskey, 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 and another whiskey, 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 and another whiskey, 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 whiskey. And another whiskey, 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 and another whiskey, whiskey, whiskey.